Let's start po. Let me introduce ourselves po. We're from Fsl University. My name is Emmanuel Mahawili.
My name is Mandaluyong.
My name is Michael Ligot.
We're gonna conduct po a short interview about dun po sa gagawin po namin what type po ng thesis po namin. The first question po that we have, for how long have you been an FSL interpreter po?
Actually, I started as ASL. And yung FSL kasi, it's just very new. I think parang 3 years pa lang ako nag-i-immerse sa FSL. Pero I started 2009, so I've been an interpreter for 12 years now.
Thank you for that answer. The next question po we have, what are the language-related challenges you've encountered when you're learning FSL po?
For the language kasi, since nakafocus ako dun sa religious signing. So, ang challenge with the words is the Latin words, Latin songs, yun yung mga challenging na encounter ko. And also yung malalalim na English, but yung malalalim kasi na English, ang solusyon kasi doon, kailangan wide yung vocabulary. So hindi na siya ganun ka-challenging except for the Latin. So right now, we are into studying Latin words, Latin songs. Para during the Mass, we can still sign.
Yung third question po is, it is possible po ba to have grammatical errors when interpreting FSL?
Actually, all of the signing is grammatically wrong. Kasi we don't sign like parang what is your name? We don't sign this. Diba? Ang inaano lang, what's your name? So, hindi na sinasign yung is. Except for if you are a teacher, you're using exact English, sign exact English, SEE. Yun yung tawag nila doon.
Ayun po. Para to that question po, yung expression po and torso movement plays an important role when doing FSL po. I'm sorry, ulitin ko po.
The expression is very important. Kasi minsan doon nakikita ng deaf. Like for example, masaya ka. Talaga naman yung mukha mo, mas malungkot. Or umiiyak ka. So, makukonfuse yung deaf na ang sign mo is happy, pero yung itsura mo malungkot. Or nagsasign ka ng happy, pero umiiyak ka. So, napaka-importante ng expression. With the torso, hindi ko kasi nire-recommend na ma-movement. Like, for example, nagsasign ka dun sa inset, sa TV. Pag nagsasign ka kasi ng malikot doon, nahihilo ang deaf. So, hindi sila makafocus sa kamay mo. Dapat kasi kamay lang ang gumagalaw, including yung expression mo. Otherwise, makakonfuse, maguguluhan sila eh. Yeah. Unlike if you are signing like live, like on the stage, you're in a program, medyo limited yung space. I think yung torso, pwede nating ipasok doon. Pero hindi ganun dapat kaguluhin. Unless that you're dancing. Or you're interpreting the song. Kasi yung song, you have something like you have to sway. So you will know, they will know na, it's a song. Kasi nag-sway siya.
Ayun po. The next question po, ito po yung question ko po. Have you heard po dun sa recent invention ng Filipino Sign Language Clubs by the student in Camarines Sur? What you can say about it? Its effectiveness to directly interpret the user intention po.
Oo. Actually, kanina rin si Michael, tinanong ko siya. Sabi ko, ano ba yung nasa TV? Yung mga estudyante na nagde-develop ng gloves. Sabi niya, hindi po. Sabi ko, I remember that in campus. Napapanood ko siya, napakaikli lang kasi nung clip eh. Kasi sa school lang siya napanood na. Maganda sana siya. Kaya lang napaka-robotic. Pero napaka-helpful niya sa mga hindi interpreters. Sa mga nakikinig lang, sa mga hearing. Although sa deaf, naiintindihan naman siya nung nasa-sign niya. Pero feeling ko kasi medyo mabagal pa. Pero in the long run, nade-develop nila yun eh. Kasi gano'n naman, di ba? Bisa medyo mabagal. Para din tayo yan, mabagal. Bisa nagbabasa tayo ng mabagal. Bisa nagsasign ako ng mabagal. Hanggang sa as we continue, nade-develop yan. So yun lang yung nakita ko na parang medyo hindi pa okay. Pero siguro soon, it will be okay. But with the hearing, napaka-helpful niya. Especially yung mga kasama ko nyari sa bahay, hindi naman marunong mag-sign. So yun, makakatulong yun na magkaroon ng komunikasyon sa deaf at sa hindi deaf. Yeah.
Bali, ano po kasi, yung gagawin po namin na thesis po, we're trying to develop po yung existing yung sa CAMSUR. So, maglalagay po kami ng monitor for the display, as well po yung sounds na rin. Then, katulad po nung, sa CAMSUR, yung gagawin po namin is may gloves din. But in addition to that, maglalagay po kami ng camera for the capture po ng motion for a better accuracy po.
Oo. Maganda yun. Kasi with deaf kasi, automatic kasi ang tenga ng binging is yung kanilang mata. Kaya I think the monitoring would be very helpful for them. Tapos yun nga, yung voice naman, napaka-helpful naman yun sa mga hearing, sa mga katulad natin. Helpful yun. Siguro yun, talagang mako-connect nila yung language barrier between the deaf and the hearing.
So, actually, nabasa po kasi namin yung feedback ng community about dun sa recent invention. Then, may mga comments sila about dun sa recent invention na may kulang daw or parang hindi raw ganito, ganyan. So, we're trying to develop po using the camera to offer the additional input. So, to help the community po. So, the last question po that we have, katulad po na sinabi nyo, follow up na lang po. In what aspect of the invention do you think the future generation can further improve yung sa CAMSUR po?
I think unang-una, kasi hindi ko kasi nakita on how they sign it, yung facial expression, kasi naka-mask sila eh. Although, yung robotic word, medyo wala kasi siyang emotions. So, I think you have to include yung sinasabi mo sa monitor, kung gagawa kayo. Better if there is an emotion. Kasi, at better then with the monitor na nagsasalita. Although walang sounds, kung walang sounds yung salita, kasi may mga deaf na naglilip. Kasi hindi lahat naman ng deaf ay nakapag-aral. So may iba, nagde-depend sa talagang sign mo. Pero yun yung mga nakapag-aral. Pero paano yung mga hindi nag-aral? So yung iba nakakabasa ng bibig. So, dito papasok yung sinasabi mo na torso kanina, no? Yung movement. Yung iba kasi since hindi nakakasign, pwedeng gestural. So, hindi talaga yung talagang sign yung isa-sign mo. Kundi i-gestural mo lang. Like, kunyari, yung iba kasi pag sinabi mong sleep pa ganon. But with gestural, yung sleep ganon. Diba? So, pag nakapag-aral ka, you know na ito yung sleep. Pero pag hindi, ito yung sleep. Kasi ito yung ginagamit sa bahay mo ng mga taong hindi rin nag-i-interpret. So, yun. Doon papasok siguro yung torso na sinasabi mo with the screen.
So, ayun po ma'am. That's the questions that we have po for tonight. So, nasagot niyo po yung mga questions po namin and we appreciate po yung time and effort po ninyo during this interview po. Hello po.
Hello po. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, let's start po.
Sige.
Sige po. Ayun po, we're from JOSÉ University. Let me introduce ourselves. My name po is Emmanuel Mahuili.
I am John Dale Salsa po.
I'm Sanjeline Joy Torano po.
I'm Michael Igot po.
So, magkakandak po kami ng short interview lang po. 5 to 6 questions lang po. Then, that's all na po. So, let's start. So, the first question we have is, for how long have you been an FSL interpreter?
Wait lang. First time ko kasi mag-interpret, yun talagang hindi ko pa masasabi nag-interpret ako that time. Napag-utusan lang ako. That I started December 2019.
So, ayun po.
That's my first ever interpreting.
Second question po is, what are the language-related challenges you have encountered when you were learning about FSL?
Actually, a lot, especially if you're not familiar of the subject that you're trying to interpret. Kasi one time kasi I've tried interpreting medical. I'm not good in medical terms kasi. So that's the main challenge. Kasi I cannot interpret or I cannot discuss to a deaf if I myself doesn't know the word itself. So siguro ang pinakamahirap talaga is that kahit siguro anong fluent mo sa English, as long as hindi mo alam, or for example in a legal setting, kung hindi mo alam yung mga terms na ginagamit ng mga abogado, mahihirapan ka rin talaga mag-interpret. That's how it is.
Yung third is it possible to have grammatical errors when interpreting FSL?
Well, ang main objective natin is wala dapat. Pero kasi when you say kasi grammatical errors, it is something na you're trying to construct a word, diba? And then you're gonna be telling it grammatically correct. But the main kasi ng FSL, the main or sa sign language na lang, I'm not gonna be specific for sign language for FSL. Ang mga deaf kasi, the way they see things is just a picture. It's not really word per word na talagang isasenyas mo siya. So for example, it'll be giving me, magsasalita ka ngayon and then you're gonna be asking me to sign a certain passage. What's gonna happen is that the way I understand it, so kung ito ka, the way I understand you should be the same way that I need to interpret it to the deaf. So if you're gonna be asking me if it's grammatically correct, kahit ano pang balik-baliktarin ko man yan or magbigay man ako ng ibang example sa kanya, as long as kung ano man yung message mo mapunta sa kanya, that's already the objective.
So the next question, do expression and torso movement plays an important role in Filipino Sign Language?
For me, oo naman. Kasi there are some, paano ba siya i-explain? Kasi there are some, paano ko ba? May mga, for example, magbibiro ang speaker mo. And then it is something na you're gonna be trying to explain it to them on a hearing joke siya. And then, itatry mo siya i-explain sa deaf. So, kunwari na lang, nagbibiro siya na, ang ganda mo, pero ang facial expression mo dapat, hindi mo sasabihin sa kanya na maganda ka, na nakangiti. Parang mapapaisip yung deaf na, sisenyas ba niya na maganda or nangaasar lang yung tao na maganda. Yun ang dapat maging dating sa mga deaf.
Okay, thank you for that po. Then the next question, yung sa recent invention ng Filipino Sign Language Clubs, dun sa Camarines Sur, what you can say about the effectiveness to directly interpret the user intention? Have you heard dun po sa invention na yun?
Actually, I've heard, maraming lumalabas, even sa, may mga ibang gadget din ako na nakikita. Yung huli ko nakita actually sa watch, na sinasabi na it's better than the gloves. Kasi kung hindi ako nagkakamali, the gloves is connected sa nerves. So whatever you're gonna be speaking, you're gonna be signing it. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, ganun ang pinaka-main goal niya. So, okay siya kung siguro it's just a specific word na you're trying to do. Pero kung if you're gonna be using it for a conversation or you're gonna be using it for an interpreting talaga, I don't recommend it if you're gonna be asking for my opinion.
Okay po. So, Dale, last question.
For the last question po, Miss Faith, in what aspect of the invention do you think the future generation can further improve?
Actually, I don't see any invention kasi ang talaga nakikita ko, if you really want to improve the interpreting skill or as a person, you really wanna, for example, you have a family member. Kasi in my case kasi, yun ang naging struggle ko ngayong pandemic. Wala kasi akong family member, I only have friends. Hindi ko naman sila pwede makita, di ba? So, for me, I would recommend na do the mag-conversing ka muna sa kanila and then practice talaga. I don't see anything na makakapantay. I don't see any invention na makakapantay sa talagang skill as an interpreter.
So, ayun po. Bali,
Thank you po.
brief lang po, summary lang po nung we're planning to innovate. So, i-innovate po namin yung sign gloves, which is yung sa Camarines Sur. Kasi they using motion-based. So, motion-based, then dadagdagan po namin siya ng vision-based. So, gagamit po kami ng camera. So, para yung mga upper body gestures nung mag-translate or mag-interpret is mas makuha nung maging accurate po, mas makuha ng device. So mas mataas yung accuracy na makukuha ng device po. So ayun. So
siguro pwede siya. Wala naman akong I'm not against sa mga nilalabas na ganyan. Kasi even I myself I've been learning kasi ang first language ko talaga sa sign language is the Filipino Sign Language. I studied it 2017 pa. And then I tried a different, kasi kung gusto mo kasi mag-interpreter, hindi ka pwede mag-focus lang doon. Kasi may mga may mga magiging listeners ka or magiging audience ka na hindi sila marunong mag-FSL. So, yun nga, I tried to check a different and nakikita ko kasi is lang siya, parang it's more on a picture talaga. Hindi siya yung tipong may mga specific words. Kasi the way I sign it, pwedeng iba sa kanila. Pero syempre, interpreter ka, you need to adjust. So, kailangan marami kang options for the words na pwedeng gamitin. Siguro maganda yung magamit yung mga words. Kasi ako, personally, I'm still using an app for a sign language. Kapag may mga words ako na hindi ko alam, or just like sinabi ko kanina, science talaga is hindi ko talaga alam yan. Wala akong alam sa mga yung mga basic lang, injection, something like that. Pero yung talagang words na ginagamit ng mga doctors, hindi ka talaga alam yun. So, okay siguro siya kung ang aaralin mo is just words per words. Pero if you're gonna be interpreting, that is that is a skill na from a heart that you're gonna be connecting to your brain para mag-function ka talaga as an interpreter. Siguro that's my personal
Yes po. So, ayun po.
perception, ganyan.
Ayan. Ayun po, so nag-gather lang po kami ng data for this interview. And we appreciate po yung time and effort po ninyo to join this
Yes,
interview. Guys, let's start. Hi, sir.
Good evening.
Evening. Sir, let's start, sir. Ready po. Okay. So, sir, we're from JRU. So, we're trying to develop a prototype to help speech impaired community. And we have some few questions to justify our prototype po. So, the first question, sir, we have is how long have you been an FSL or an Filipino Sign Language interpreter or interpreter po?
So, lumaki ako sa Canada. I became an ASL interpreter there. Graduated in 2006. Then moved to the Philippines and started learning FSL. So altogether, it's 15 years. But in the Philippines, halos 10 taon na that I've been living here.
Then another question we have is what are the language related challenges you encounter when you're learning ASL?
Or FSL? FSL or ASL?
FSL po.
FSL. Okay. So learning sign language in terms of just the language it came pretty easy because if you have an interest and na-enjoy mo, then learning is parang mabilis. The thing that was the most challenge is the cultural components of language. So hindi lang siya the linguistics, the grammar. It's about understanding the people and who they are so that you apply it to their language, right? So yan yung sa akin pinaka-challenge because I'm still learning. Being part of the community over a decade now, still there's so many things that I'm still learning, and so like with anything, that's I think the most challenging.
Continuous learning po, no?
Yes.
Okay. So next question po. It is possible to have grammatical error when interpreting FSL.
So without getting into the linguistics of FSL, visual language versus audio language, semantics, all that stuff. FSL has grammar, like facial grammar, but because it's on your hands, your face, and body, the way we approach it can be different ways. It's not like one way of saying, hello, my name is. You only have one way. But for FSL, you have so many different ways. You can say this, you can say, there's so many different ways to say things like the same concept, right? And so there is possibility of misunderstandings, but to have like grammatical errors, it depends nga. Because when you understand now the culture, who these deaf people are, their educational background, so their exposure to language from the beginning, right? Most of these deaf people were 90% of deaf people come from hearing parents. So you can imagine hindi sila marunong magsenyas, so there's no communication in the house. So understanding those that paradigm helps you figure out the language better. Kasi hand in hand sila eh. So is it possible? Yes, there's the misunderstanding, but the one great thing about sign language then is ano siya? There's a lot of room for error, right? Especially if you're a deaf child and your fingers and you have like some sort of muscular sickness or something, because there's different kinds of deaf. It's not just you're deaf. There's like deaf blind, deaf with plus different other disabilities. So yeah, there's that to take into account when you're signing. Sorry, I'm just blabbing on kasi parang nakatingin lang. Wala kayong question or am I being clear?
Yes, sir. Bali, sir, regarding po doon, may follow-up po ako na question. Bali, yung expression po ng, yung katulad po na sinabi niya, yung expression and torso movement plays important role in FSL po. No?
Yeah, so the expression, facial grammar, the torso movement is what we call role shifting. So it's a feature of visual language. So instead of he said, she said, we just role shift our torso so that I'm representing, little boy looking up, hi ma, hello, that kind of thing. So that's one feature of sign language.
So
But yes, it's important.
Yes, sir, regarding naman po dun sa recent invention, if you're heard yung Filipino Sign Language gloves that invented by Filipino and Camarines Sur.
Yes.
What you can say, sir, about the effectiveness to directly interpret the user intention, or did you already ano po?
Yeah, I'm familiar. I'm more curious what you guys think about it. Can I hear people speak? And I want to know what you guys think about that whole thing. I want to hear, kung posible, I hear your reaction. Like, yeah. Manuel.
Can you repeat po, sir? I'm sorry.
I want to hear what so you're asking me these questions, right? Okay,
Yes, po.
I can ask you back, right?
Sige po.
So yung tanong mo sa akin is, what yung sign language gloves, right?
Yes po.
So as students, what do you guys feel about it? Since you took up an interest, bakit?
Ayun, sir. Actually, sir, yung nakita namin yung invention from Camarines Sur, nakita namin siya na makakatulong siya dun sa speech impaired community para ma-easily nila na ma-express, and as well, sir, di ba, for future, parang alam niyo yung parang part na siya ng buhay ng mga pipe, tsaka yung mga nasa speech impaired community para matulungan yung everyday drawing nila. For example, sa work, hindi sila ma-discriminate, and then, ayun po.
Okay. So okay. So you haven't talked to deaf people at all, right?
Yes, sir. Hindi pa po namin na pag-communicate with other deaf or impaired people po.
Okay. So yeah, it's I'm trying to understand kasi yeah, I'm familiar with what happened with the sign language gloves, and it was like applauded by the community. But if you read the deaf comments, they were very negative towards it, right? I was, yeah, it's a good idea in terms of concept, right? And technical ability. It's a feat to do that. But actually, I put together, I have a list of different websites that you can refer to kasi this was already done 9 years ago, right? And same thing, the reaction of the deaf community wasn't like, it doesn't benefit them because it's sound based, right? So if you're signing and then there's sound coming out of the hands, so how does it benefit the deaf person if the hearing person can't sign back, right? So it's just one-way communication.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah. Uh, so maybe, I don't know, just to give you that information, a lot of deaf people really didn't, and there's so many YouTube videos, you just have to Google search it on sign language gloves and reactions to it, right? If there's a because I actually met with another group and they're doing a technology where it's like motion recognition. So you do the hands on and then it comes out on the phone. And that's an interesting thing because then you get, I know, you can get real deaf models there and be part of that project to include the deaf community, right? Because they really appreciate it. There were a few deaf people involved in that project and they were very excited to help students. For me, bilang interpreter, one thing that I see that's needed in the community, kasi ang complaint nila is the inset in the news is too small, right? So if there was a technology to kind of enhance that that inset, like have a separate monitor and have this corner transposed to here and zoomed in. Because I think that has a real application and deaf people will buy it, right? And now that we are on Zoom, everything's virtual. Same thing on various platforms, maliit yung interpreter. So if this technology can be, thought about, kasi mahirap yung sign language gloves if you don't know sign language, if you don't know deaf culture, right? A lot of the times, we have non-verbal communication, and that's it. But how do you translate that in gloves if the non-verbal is here? So yun. I'm sorry, I feel like I burst your bubble. I want to encourage you guys kasi syempre you guys are full of ideas and creative and you can go for it. Just make sure that if it's something for the deaf, that deaf people should be part of the conceptualization, right? Yun nga, yung taga Cebu, the sign language hands group. There's so many people that applauded them, and like I said, that's a great project for a student. But if you want to think a little bit bigger, how do you really help the community? How do you build these bridges? Then we can go a little bit deeper. And I'm very flattered that you called me kasi I'm here to help you as well. So if you have any other questions, for sure.
Thanks, sir. Katulad nakita ko rin po yung mga comments nung community na in order for you to parang to learn or to help yung in speech and impaired community, you must learn first yung sign language. Ayan po. So another question, sir, we have, in what aspect of the invention do you think the future generation can further improve? Yung katulad na sinabi niyo kanina po. Yung parang hindi one way and another, yung parang kung paano i-invent yung or i-interpret nung gloves yung sign language po. Dapat katulad po ng we're planning po na i-develop is makikita nung yung speech or yung people, yung person na yun, yung ginagawa niya through monitor, as well, meron ding speaker. Just to verify if kung yung sign language na ginagawa niya, kasi sir, di ba, kung tama or mali. Ayun po.
So it's a different kind of technology.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Ayun, sir. Yung gagawin po kasi namin is parang two-way. So, motion-based, tsaka motion-based, tsaka vision-based. Ayun.
Motion-based, yeah.
Motion-based and vision-based. So, yung magiging input nun is i-fuse namin. Then, para mas maging ano siya, mas accurate yung magiging output.
Yeah.
Katulad po sinabi niyo, sir.
You can really put in the facial, if you can somehow isolate the facial expressions as well, and the slight change in torso, then that would be, yeah, something worth looking into.
Sure. So we're planning to use po to develop yung previous one. We're planning to use image based. So kung ano yung nakikita ng upper body, yung torso, pati yung through sign language, yung gloves.
Ang gloves.
Magiging ano po siya, magiging input po no sign language or ini-interpret po ng person na yon. As well, yung image processing na gagawin niya, yung upper body is magiging input po as ano po, interpretation ng person po. So, mas magiging accurate siya. Yun po.
Yeah, for sure. Just to give you a brief linguistics class, very brief. Sign language has 5 parameters. So there's hand shape, location, movement, finger orientation, hand orientation, and non-manual signals. So that's facial grammar. So these parameters are applied to every sign. So for example, the sign father, it has a hand shape, it has a position, it has a movement, it has a hand orientation and facial grammar, right? But, you know, as there's like different kinds of signs out there, right? And just the mere change in the location or change in hand shape, it can change dramatically. You know what I mean? So if you're going to take out, it's not just the movement of a sign. This is sign. But another way of sign is this, 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 right? There's different ways of signing that. So just for that one word, and it's going to be hard to capture all those. I mean, it's possible, and with the help of the deaf for sure, it's more accurate. But yeah, if that's a plan, it's definitely worth it. And yeah, if you need any more consultation about how this works, I'm more than happy to help you guys out.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Ayun talaga yung, yes, sir,
Yeah.
go ahead.
If you need to connect also to the deaf community, I can also, start a group chat for you to start understanding more about their world through themselves, right? First-hand information. And if you guys want to learn some sign language, like I know this organization, Deaf Interp, they offer sign language classes as well. So it's also a good venue, really fun, kasi yung teachers mo is deaf, right? So then for a few moments, you're put in their world. So you're the minority language. No talking allowed. So you have to figure things out it's fun. So yun, I can offer that to you as well. Is there any other questions?
For now, sir, ayun na po yung questions po namin.
Okay.
Sir, mukhang na-verify na po namin from you yung intention namin na important yung body movements and upper and torso movements.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Po, sir, thank you for your
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Stay safe po.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.